and support us in understanding our physical bodies and how to interpret the emotions that come after physical illness and how we relate that to that as we live our Christian lives. Thank you, Father. Amen. This may sound like a lousy topic. It is not. It is relevant. It is a topic that is emotionally deep. It is psychologically deep. It is educational. It is socially sound. And also spiritually godly. I invite you to engage in an open dialogue with one another during this session. I'm going to facilitate. I'm not a preacher, so we'll be talking to one another. I invite each and every person to say something. And if you don't, I will ask you to say something. Because no one does not relate to this topic. It is informative, it's also therapeutic. Adjusting, it means repositioning yourself emotionally. In simple words, that's what it means. Do you adjust? Do you reposition yourself emotionally as a wise man or as a foolish man? Where do you stand? Each and every one of us here has been affected by physical illness. How do you adjust to that? Could someone read for me Proverbs 16 verse 32? Proverbs 16 verse 32.
Verse 32.
Yes, thank you.
Better a patient man than a warrior, a man who controls his temper than one who takes a city.
Thank you. I'm sure we understand what adjusting is. I'm going to give an example of adjusting to illness. I know I've got friends here who have been directly affected by that. And they've been engulfed with the emotions of adjusting to illness. It does not only affect you, it affects all the people that are immediately connected with you. Pastor Mabena was talking about what is called relational psychology. It's a deep topic. I will encourage him privately to author a book around that. It will be a very popular book. Sometime in 2019, at the beginning of the year now, it was March, I started experiencing a severe headache. I'm sure I've shared to some of you. The headache was severe. Each time I tried to stand up, I was almost falling down. I awake, although I'm not really directly related professionally in terms of my job with where I work. I've got friends there. So I decided to see one of the consultants. No, it was a registrar. He examined me and he took all the tests and he took everything for granted. I could tell he was blasé. He said there was nothing wrong with me, but my blood pressure was quite raised. Went home. That didn't stop even with continuous use of paracetamol. About 12:30, At night, no. I thought, no, I should do something about this. So I went to my local A&E. So these days, NHS databases are linked. So the doctor then noticed that I had been seen at my local hospital and with the same complaints. So he immediately ordered a CT scan. A CT scan is an X-ray. So I ordered a CT scan for my head. And immediately he spotted a bleed. I was bleeding on my brain. In other words, medically speaking, I was having a hemorrhagic stroke. And the bleeding was still ongoing. So anytime I was going to be affected neurologically. So quickly, they transferred me to a local stroke hospital. Well, I'm here. Now, listen to my story. That was my first major illness. Listening to my story, what do you think was my first reaction? Or thinking about your story, when you get that diagnosis, what's your first reaction? That's a step further. Emotionally, what do you think is the first thing? You're there. What jumps up? Panic. Yes. What else? Denial. That's mostly what people respond. No, it can't be. It can't be me. Even when your child is ill or your partner is ill, that's the first thing. But you, the affected, is denial. No, not me. What are some of the emotions that engulf you? Going further. Yeah. Someone has spoken, you have spoken, so those who have not spoken, please do before I point at you. Fear. What else? Okay, let me just trigger something. Let me just think about a wild story, a wild example. Most of you here are married. If you're talking to your wife and there's a minor argument, a minor disagreement, and then she says, I know it's a wild example. How would you respond to that? Emotionally, not what you would do. Anger. Disbelief. Anger. Anger is an emotion that follows after denial at times. But some people's emotions, they rush further down. Some people start drinking. Some people start smoking. Some people start acting negatively to numb that feeling or that discovery. Let's have other examples of other emotions when you are diagnosed. Or even if it's not you, someone else. What other emotions do you experience? Do you think people experience? Shock.
Bitterness.
Sorry. Bitterness.
Yeah.
Right. Go back to anger. Anger with who?
In most cases, it can be anger with God.
It can be anger with God. Why did you allow this?
Yeah.
Anger with yourself. Anger with the devil. Do it comes in there. Right. These are some of the researched emotions that people go through. Does anyone relate with any of those? Pick one and talk for 10, 20 seconds about that. Or you've experienced counseling somebody or talking to your child or yourself.
Bargaining.
Bargaining, what does that mean?
God, if you help me, I promise I will never sin again.
What should I do? What can be done? Who can help? As a Christian, when you are hit by illness, the illness may be chronic. It may be life-changing. It may be shortening your life. I'm talking about terminal illness. As a Christian, is there anyone here who responded positively in a Christian way, in a spiritual way, when they received bad news about an illness?
I think it's one of the hardest things to accept it yourself personally. And I'd say I was gonna go for depression, that you see other people losing their state, losing their mind. You know, people they end up going to other people they end up going to start drinking alcohol, relying on all those things, trying to avoid accepting that this thing it hit me.
And I mean, I'm sure you're talking from what you have observed somewhere. You have seen that happening. In my next slide, which will be the last one, we'll be going on to how do we respond to that in a positive way.
I was going to say, in some cases, you even forget about your being a Christian. It runs out of your mind.
Confused, they're perplexed.
Yeah. You can no longer say, I ain't tata now tata. You forget. Maybe the secondary people around you might be thinking of that, not you.
I was speaking to somebody, he said, no, it was she actually, I failed to pronounce a prayer. Words didn't come out.
At times, it can work the opposite way. Some people might actually make them draw nearer to God. We think of the story of David when he had sinned. What the Bible tells us what he did. He went back to the Lord, isn't it?
Yes. Mr. Dube says it can draw you closer to God. That's a wise man's choice. I'm leaving you out, Zikali and Mkonazi for a few minutes. I know this is a difficult topic if you are directly affected.
Sometimes become aggressive, especially when you hear it for the first time. You can be very aggressive, thinking that maybe somebody's fault.
You blame somebody.
Yeah, you blame somebody. They've done this to me.
I've seen people bursting out,
Yeah.
walking out of a consultation room. Some people have got very low threshold of mental well-being. So Brother Moyo here told us of people who go into depression. Some people have got low threshold of their mental well-being. They can develop a first episode of psychosis. As Christians, as social well-beings, it's so important how we arrest that, how we respond to that. Especially if you are next to the person who has received that horrible diagnosis or an injury. How do you support that person? We'll come to that. Let's go on these emotions a bit more. Does someone want to highlight something there? How long does this each stage last? How long do you worry for? How long are you irritable for? How long do you bargain for? How long is your social functioning affected?
I think it depends with individuals when they accept that this is the way forward.
How long is a piece of string? Exactly. It affects people at different levels, and people respond very differently to that. Some people heal very fast. Some people start with the denial and they rush through to acceptance. And I find many Christians responding to that. Many devoted and faithful Christians healing very fast because of their faith and because of the people around them. I saw a hand here.
Oh yes, I was going to say it's dependent on the supporting structures as well around you. Counseling, how early you get that. Sometimes things get out of hand because you have not timeous supporting measures to help you cope.
Exactly. The people around you, what do they say to you? Right, I want one person, preferably who hasn't said anything, except Kwanas and because we have done this. Certain Kwanas is cutting. We've gone through this, and it's still fresh. Not now. What do you say to a person who has received a very poor diagnosis? Preferably if you haven't said anything, including those who came late. Somebody has received, or someone is injured, somebody has been involved in an accident. What do you say, or what do you do? Because waiting for you.
Well, I think I was hesitating to talk because we tend to go into the pastoral mode of responding to someone, and usually our first answer is comforting the person, or saying, you could say, somehow I understand you're going through what you're going through, but God will find a way to give you strength and hope even in this situation that you find yourself in.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure whether that's more spiritual side. I don't know whether you're looking for something.
You can't avoid being spiritual when you're a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. And right down the line, that's the line that you go. Immediately, what do you do?
I think on the same line, even if I'm not a pastor, I think there's a pastoral element to all of us when we are facing such things. We try to go that way. That's the starting point. But probably the reason why I'm raising my hand is because I'm thinking of an incident that stuck with me. I think it stuck with me for more than 30 years now. When there was a time back home when HIV was ravaging and people were really falling left, right, and center. I met a friend who was very frail, and he says to me, "See, my friend, I'm dying." And immediately the pastoral element of you kicks in. You try to reassure them that you will be fine, God is still there. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Please stop lying to me. I am dying, I'll be dead in the next few weeks." And he died in the following 2 weeks. But I got stuck I was young, I was in my 20s. I really got stuck and thought, these things are very difficult to heal. Maybe years down the line I could be a bit wiser, but I still feel I need to be equipped. I don't know how best. I think some people that are trained in counseling, and maybe they can help us understand how you handle some of those things, because it's easy to go on the pastoral, but at that point for me it didn't work.
Sure.
So probably it's more of a question than a response to your answer.
These are some of the ideas how you respond. The most important thing is to help the person accept and acknowledge their situation. That is the first step. That is so important, and that can be the most difficult part. But if you go over that, then the person will start healing. I'll give Kwanazi a minute, and I'll also give Zikari a minute.
So just in the example I gave, how would you have responded?
It depends on your physical position, where you are. You say you met this person.
Yeah, we met in
Call him by name.
Yeah.
Hand over him or shoulder.
Mm.
I understand your pain. One thing that we usually make a mistake about is talking in a closed way, or asking, or when we are discussing, we use closed questions or closed comments. Pass a comment that makes the person open up. How do you feel? Let them express. That's the best counseling approach. If you go for any counseling session, they pose open questions that encourage you to express. And talking yourself about your problem is extremely, the mind works and it's very therapeutic. You'll be surprised that the person, as she or he narrates, starts to heal. My time is up. I've got 2 minutes.
Maybe I just want to speak it practically, because at the end of the day, we might discuss this. Some of us have never come across it.